Honda built its reputation on engines that never fail, but they never truly thrilled. As their dominance slipped and rivals surged ahead, Honda's engineers made a radical, secretive bet, tearing apart their most reliable outboards to fix invisible flaws and rewriting decades of cautious design. But did the hidden changes beneath the cowl really solve the critical problems? And what did Honda risk by gambling their legacy? The real story behind Honda's 2026 outboards starts with the uncomfortable truth of why reliability alone almost destroyed them. Through the 1990s and the early 2000s, Honda's outboards developed a reputation that was both a blessing and a curse. Dealers praised them as engines that never break but never excite. For years, this reliability kept Honda's market share steady among commercial operators and cautious boaters who valued quiet operation and minimal downtime above all else. As the late 2010s arrived, the tide quietly turned. Competitors like Yamaha and Mercury began flooding showrooms with outboards that did not just promise durability, they delivered raw power, digital features, and bold, aggressive styling. In the 200 to 350 horsepower range, Honda's offerings started to look dated. Sales data from the United States and Europe showed a clear pattern. Honda's market share in high-power segments stalled, while rival brands surged ahead. Dealers began to voice their frustration in closed-door meetings and industry interviews. One analyst wrote in a 2023 trade report, "We cannot sell just on reliability anymore. Customers want to be impressed, not just reassured." By 2021, even long, loyal showrooms admitted that Honda's conservative image was costing them sales. The engines were still dependable, but buyers were leaving for more exciting options. Inside Honda, the pressure mounted. Corporate briefings pointed to a slow but steady erosion of relevance. The phrase "safe but old-fashioned" crept into internal memos and dealer feedback forms. Company leadership faced a stark reality. The same qualities that once set Honda apart now left them vulnerable. Reliability alone had become a liability. The urgency to change was no longer just a matter of pride. It was a question of survival in a market that had moved on. Honda's engineers, once celebrated for their cautious perfectionism, found themselves tasked with a different mandate. Do not just avoid failure, create something that cannot be ignored. The coming years would test whether Honda could break free from its own legacy, or whether the brand's celebrated caution would finally become its downfall. Underneath the new cowl, Honda's 2026 outboards reveal a series of mechanical corrections that never made the press release headlines. Service bulletins and teardown reports confirm a redesigned oil pump, its flow control now tuned to withstand the punishing heat cycles that doomed earlier models under heavy load. Where previous generations risked oil aeration and starvation, the new pump delivers steady lubrication, even when the throttle stays pinned for hours. The bypass route and filter placement have shifted, making oil changes cleaner and cutting down on the drips that once left mechanics grumbling. The cylinder head gasket, long a quiet source of warranty claims, has been overhauled. Drainage geometry now channels water away from the most corrosion-prone passages, a direct answer to the under-cowl failures that haunted the BF350 and V6 units. Mechanics who once tore down engines to find crusted coolant passages now report cleaner, drier internals. New fasteners and seals, coated in advanced anti-corrosion alloys, lock out saltwater intrusion, extending the lifespan where it matters most, deep inside the block, out of sight and out of mind. Honda's blast system, once a marketing bullet point, has been quietly recalibrated. The 2026 iteration sharpens low-speed torque delivery, giving boats a more immediate surge off the line. This tweak is not about chasing horsepower on paper. It is about fixing the lag that cost Honda dealers sales against Mercury's and Yamaha's quicker hole shots. VTEC now reaches further down the lineup, bringing variable cam timing to more models. The result is a smoother, more flexible power band, one that adapts to the throttle, not just the test bench. Corrosion resistance gets another layer of defense. A new zinc aluminum alloy sourced from Japanese suppliers coats the mid-case and internal hardware. This material change, confirmed by updated parts numbers and dealer databases, follows a string of field failures traced back to lesser alloys. Extended service intervals for valve adjustments and plugs signal confidence in these upgrades. Honda is not just promising reliability, they are betting on it with fewer trips to the shop. None of these changes appear in glossy brochures. But for those who study the parts lists, the service bulletins, and the warranty returns, the message is clear. Honda's engineers have been fighting a hidden war beneath the cowl, and for 2026 they are determined not to lose another battle. The arrival of the BF350 V8 was not just another product launch, it was a declaration. On paper, the numbers alone were enough to catch the industry's attention: 4.95 liters of displacement, a true marine-only V8 block, and 350 horsepower delivered through a platform that weighed in at just over 765 pounds dry. But the real story began on the water, where the first production units landed in the hands of people whose livelihoods depended on engines that could take punishment day after day. Captain Robert Espinoza, running a 32-foot Parker pilot house out of Florida, became one of Honda's most important field testers. His charter schedule was relentless: 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts, from shallow bay runs to offshore ledges. Honda engineers shipped him a pair of pre-production BF350s in the spring of 2025, asking for unfiltered feedback and promising to listen. Espinoza's logbook became a running record of every surge, stumble, and anomaly. Within the first 60 hours, he documented a string of power loss events and ECU warning lights, especially during throttle jumps between 3,100 and 3,800 RPM. The problems grew more frequent as summer heat and heavy electrical loads pushed the engines harder. The logs tell the story in detail. Code P2135, a throttle sensor mismatch. P1300, VTEC transition error. P1602, CAN bus dropouts. And P0171, a lean fuel trim warning. 3 shutdowns in a single day forced Espinoza to limp back to the dock, frustrated and wary. For a company chasing a comeback, these gremlins could have spelled disaster. Instead, Honda responded quickly. A field technician arrived with a pre-release firmware patch, reflashing the ECUS dockside. The update rewrote how the engines handled throttle transitions, adjusted hybrid assist communication timing, and prioritized CAN bus traffic under high accessory loads. The change was immediate. Over the next 180 hours, Espinoza logged steady power, no further shutdowns, and a 4.5% bump in fuel economy at cruise. The error codes vanished. In interviews, he described the transformation as effortless, even in peak season heat. Honda's engineers didn't just fix a bug, they turned field data into a final product that could survive the realities of commercial use. Espinoza's logbook, later excerpted in technical bulletins and trade magazines, became evidence that the BF350 wasn't just a spec sheet marvel. It was a working tool, refined by the people who needed it most. Beyond the numbers, the BF350 set a new template for Honda's entire high-power lineup. Its angular cowl, digital controls, and marine-specific blocks signaled a break from the brand's conservative past. The engine's performance and the public way Honda handled its early faults reset expectations among dealers and customers alike. For the first time in years, Honda had an outboard that didn't just promise reliability, it demanded attention. The BF350 proved that Honda could listen and adapt and deliver even when the stakes were highest. Pressure inside Honda's engineering division spiked in the spring of 2024. when a routine Gulf endurance test took a sharp turn. A prototype V6, running on a commercial charter schedule off the coast of Tampa, suffered a catastrophic failure at hour 417. Salt water breached the cylinder block and nearly seized the engine mid-run. The post-mortem revealed a silent flaw, a porosity defect in the zinc-aluminum mid-case casting, traced back to a batch from a long-standing Japanese supplier. Within days, supply chain managers ordered an emergency halt on all engines using the suspect alloy. Internal emails later leaked to the trade press described managers working through weekends, opening crates by hand, and inspecting serial numbers one by one. The risk of a cascading recall loomed over the entire 2026 launch schedule. For a company that built its brand on quiet reliability, the prospect of a public failure was unthinkable. Lead engineers, already on edge from rising warranty claims, demanded full tear-down audits of every engine in the test fleet. Inspection memos detail how teams drained coolant, scoped internal passages, and sent corroded samples back to Japan for metallurgical analysis. The culprit was microscopic air pockets in the alloy, invisible on the factory floor, but fatal after months of saltwater pounding. The defect allowed coolant to seep into places it never belonged, accelerating corrosion and undermining Honda's new drainage architecture before it even reached customers. Action was swift. The supplier contract was suspended, and a secondary foundry was brought online with stricter quality assurance protocols. All mid-case castings for the 2026 models were resourced, and a new inspection regime was imposed, including X-ray scans, batch sampling, and serialized traceability for every critical component. Field reports show that production paused for nearly 2 weeks while the supply chain realigned. Engineers on both sides of the Pacific traded late-night calls, rewriting specifications and tightening tolerances. The crisis forced Honda to rethink more than just metallurgy. Lead engineers pushed for digital monitoring, expanded sensor arrays, and a smarter engine control unit (ECU) capable of flagging coolant anomalies before they spiraled into full-scale failures. The scramble to contain the porosity defect justified a broader shift, tougher quality assurance, deeper supplier vetting, and a new willingness to embrace digital solutions that would once have been dismissed as unnecessary complexity. For the people inside Honda, the episode was a warning shot. The margin for error had vanished. Every component, every supplier, every line of code now carried the weight of the company's future. The 2026 Outboards would not be allowed to fail quietly or at all. Honda's digital ambitions for 2026 are written into every circuit and line of code beneath the cowl. The Intelligent Shift and Throttle System, IST, moves from optional upgrade to mandatory standard on all V6 and high-output 4-cylinder models in North America and Europe. The decision did not come quietly. Internal meeting records describe months of heated debate between Honda Japan's powertrain division and U.S. Marine leadership. The U.S. team insisted that Mercury's digital controls had set a new baseline for buyers, while engineers in Japan worried about introducing new complexity and potential failure points. The compromise was IST as standard in the West, with manual options still available for Asia-Pacific and Latin America. At the heart of the new IST suite is a multiplexed ECU, built to manage not just throttle and shift, but also auto trim, cruise control, and digital diagnostics. The system's 5-button helm module and 7-inch LCD display allow for real-time monitoring, troubleshooting, and adjustment, features once reserved for flagship models. Service bulletins confirm that the new ECU is not just a software update, it is a hardware overhaul with upgraded CAN bus architecture and expanded sensor arrays. This backbone is designed to support both current combustion engines and future hybrid assist integration, hinting at Honda's long-term strategy. Patent filings from 2024 and 2025 point to something more ambitious. Drawings submitted to the Japanese Patent Office show a parallel hybrid assist module mated to the gearbox of the BF350. Supplier documents list Bosch and Denso as prototype partners for motor generator units, while leaked photos from a Florida marina capture a camouflaged outboard sporting extra wiring and control boxes. While the official story is that hybrid assist was shelved for cost and warranty risk, the evidence suggests the technology is quietly maturing in the background. Engineers have already mapped out how a 48-volt system could deliver torque fill at low speeds, boost fuel economy by up to 15%, and allow for silent maneuvering in harbors without sacrificing range or reliability. Trade-offs are inevitable. The new electronics add weight and complexity, and the expanded digital control surface raises the stakes for both diagnostics and field repairs. Early dealer training materials warn that troubleshooting now requires new tools and specialized software. But the gamble is clear. Honda is betting that seamless digital integration and the promise of hybrid power just over the horizon will define the next decade of marine propulsion. The 2026 lineup is not just a response to lost market share, it is a pivot to a future where electronics and electrification are the battlegrounds that matter most. Honda's 2026 warranty announcement landed with the force of a gauntlet thrown at the feet of the industry. Dealers gathered at the Orlando closed-door event in early 2025, expecting the usual 3-year coverage. Instead, Honda's regional manager unveiled a 5-year standard warranty, plus a 7-year promotional extension for early adopters. The room buzzed with a mix of disbelief and calculation. One dealer principal, flipping through the actuarial handout, muttered, "Do the math. How many units actually make 7 years without a claim?" Internal actuarial documents later leaked to trade press revealed Honda's own gamble. The company projected up to a 30% drop in claims, banking on their mechanical and corrosion upgrades to hold the line. The move was not just about confidence, it was a calculated wager that the hidden fixes under the cowl would finally pay off in the real world, not just on the spec sheet. Dealer reactions split along familiar lines. Veterans who had weathered the corrosion spike in 2021 eyed the new terms with skepticism, quietly calling insurance reps to ask what hidden costs might be lurking. Others, especially those in saltwater markets, saw an opening. A Gulf Coast dealer said if the engines really are as bulletproof as they say, we finally have something Mercury cannot touch. He was already planning local ad campaigns around the 7-year promise. Early buyers responded. Within 6 months of launch, internal sales data confirmed a 9% jump in Honda's U.S. market share for high-power outboards, with the sharpest gains in the BF350 to BF250 range. Showrooms reported that warranty terms tipped the balance for repower customers who had been on the fence. For the first time in years, Honda's sales floor felt like a place where risk was measured, and at least for now, rewarded. The warranty was not just a piece of paper, it was a public bet on the future of Honda's engineering, and the market answered with real money. Right now, Honda's 2026 outboards are more than machines. They are a gamble on whether tradition can survive disruption. As hybrid power and smart controls move from prototype to production, the marine industry faces a new standard. Every innovation carries risk, and the stakes are clear: adapt or be left behind. The water does not wait. What would you demand from the next generation? Let's talk in the comments.